Greetings, health, and creative wealth, wherever you reside or are. Welcome to or welcome back to Paintin Wit, Mr. Cooper. I'm your host, Mr. C, here to provide you with another breakdown and demonstration of another vision. Be sure to gather your palette to make the magic, your tools to do the cool things, and the solid flat surface for you to follow through from at home or with your friends. Sharing is caring after all, so share, like, subscribe, and comment if you like the content that you see. And be sure to hit the notification bell to stay tuned and tapped in for everything that's been or is to come. And if you are in the New York area and prefer a live instruction, then contact me privately for more information on options and arrangements. All materials are provided, no experience needed. For today's project, we're going to use an acrylic paint palette that consists of primary red, primary yellow, primary blue, black, white, yellow ochre, red oxide, and phthalo green. Centimeter and inch brushes as well as palette knives are always crucial to the application parts of my process, but you can use anything relative that will help you accomplish the same things. You can never go wrong with cotton balls, cotton swabs, and spare toothbrushes, for example. An apron is optional but optimal because messes are possible, so let's be careful. And captions are going to accompany footage of the majority of the steps so that you understand the intentions, brush sizes, mixes, and methods being used. And with that being said, without further ado, here's today's walkthrough. Enjoy! I'd like to thank you all again for tuning in. And remember, once more, to share, subscribe, like, and comment if you like the content and support our apparel shop, which will appear in the link below, and include graphic tees inspired by this and all episodes of Painting with Mr. Cooper. I've been your host, Mr. C, wishing you positivity, paint, and peace.